Dear students, welcome to the third session of our chapter 5 States of Matter. Today we will deal with the topic Dalton's Law of Partial Pressures. This law was formulated by John Dalton in 1801. It states that the total pressure exerted by the mixture of non-reactive gases is equal to the sum of the partial pressures of the individual gases. I'll repeat the law. The total pressure exerted by the mixture of gases is equal to the sum of the partial pressure of the individual gases. And in a mixture of gases, the pressure exerted by the individual gas is called partial pressure. So each and every gas is having the pressure which we are naming it as partial pressure. So if three gases are there, we have to say partial pressure of the first gas, second gas, third gas. Like that we have to say. And all these three we have to take, or the number of gases we have to take the partial pressures and sum it to get what? The total pressure. So mathematically how we can represent that law? That is P total is equal to P1 plus P2 plus P3 at constant temperature and volume, where the P total is the total pressure exerted by the mixture of gases, and P1, P2, P3, etc. are the partial pressures of the gases. That means each and every gases in the mixture of gas is exerting some pressure, which we are saying partial pressure P1, P2, P3, etc. Some gases, or when we usually say the gases are collected over the water, and that's why they are moist in nature. Pressure of dry gas can be calculated by subtracting vapor pressure of water from the total pressure of the moist gas, which contains water vapor also. The pressure exerted by saturated water vapor is called aqueous tension. Pressure exerted by the saturated water vapor is said to be aqueous tension. Now, this pressure, that is the dry gas pressure, we can calculate through P total minus the aqueous tension. Next is how we can find out the partial pressure in terms of mole fraction. Suppose at the temperature T, if three gases are there and they are enclosed in the volume V, they exert some partial pressure P1, P2 and P3 respectively. Then how we can write the ideal gas equation? P1 is equal to N1 by V RT for the first gas. P2 is equal to N2 by V RT for the second gas. P3 is equal to N3 by V RT for the third gas. Like that it goes on. So we can write the partial pressure for P1, P2, P3 in this way, where we know that N1, N2, N3 are the number of moles of these gases. Thus the total pressure will be what? P total will be P1 plus P2 plus P3. And if we substitute the values of these partial pressures in the P total, we'll get what? N1 RT by V plus N2 RT by V plus N3 RT by V. Taking the RT by V common, we can get N1 plus N2 plus N3 into RT by V. On dividing P1 by P total, we get P1 by P total is equal to P1 is what? N1 RT by V. P total is N1 plus N2 plus N3 RT by V. Substituting the values, now we are getting a formula. This one are getting cancelled. That is RTV, RTV. Then finally we are getting what? N1 by N1 plus N2 plus N3. As we know that these are the number of moles of the three gases. So we are just taking it as what? Small letter n. So the equation becomes N1 by N is equal to X1. We know that these number of moles we have just added for the different gases, and we have taken small letter n. Therefore, what we can write? P1 is equal to X1 into P total. Why? Because we have taken what? P1 by P total is equal to, and we are getting what? X1. So just cross multiplying, we'll get what? P1 is equal to X1 by, into P total. And we know that P1 and X1 are the partial pressures of the particular gas. We can use these formula to find out the partial pressures of the individual gases. So how many gases will be there in the mixture of gas? We can find out the partial pressure of each gas through this equation. Next we have to take the liquid state. In that we have to learn what is vapor pressure. Vapor pressure at the stage where an equilibrium is established between the liquid phase and the vapor phase is known as the equilibrium vapor pressure or saturated vapor pressure. The temperature at which the vapor pressure of a liquid is equal to the external pressure, then we can name it as boiling temperature of at that pressure. Boiling temperature of that pressure. At 1 atmospheric pressure, the boiling temperature is called normal boiling point. If the pressure is 1 bar, then the boiling point is said to be standard boiling point, because the unit we are taking of the pressure is 1 bar. So it is the standard condition. The temperature when the density of a liquid and the vapor becomes the same, that is the boundary between the liquid and the vapor disappears, is called critical temperature. The temperature when the density of a liquid and the vapors become the same, that temperature is said to be critical temperature. Next is about the surface tension. When a molecule experiences equal intermolecular forces from all sides, the molecule itself does not experience a net force, and this phenomenon is called surface tension. Liquids tend to minimize their surface area. The molecules on the surface experience a net downward force and thus have more energy than the molecules in the bulk. If the surface of the liquid is increased by pulling a molecule from the bulk, the attractive forces will have to be overcome. The energy required to increase the surface area of the liquid by 1 unit is called surface energy, and the unit for surface energy is joules per meter square. Surface tension, therefore, we can define as the force acting per unit length perpendicular to the line drawn on the surface of the liquid, and it is denoted by the Greek letter gamma. It has the dimensions as kilogram second raised to minus 2, and in the SI unit it can be expressed as Newton meter inverse. The lowest energy state of the liquid will be when the surface area is minimum. The spherical shape satisfies this condition. That is why mercury drops are spherical in shape. Mercury, where we are finding in the thermometer tip, we can get the mercury, or we can see that one. This is the reason that sharp glass edges are heated for making the glass smooth. On heating, the glass melts and the surface of the liquid tends to take the rounded shape at the edges, which make the glass edges smooth. The last topic of this liquid phase or liquid state is viscosity. It is the measure of resistance to flow which arises due to the internal friction between the layers of fluid as they slip past one another while the liquid flows. When a liquid flows over a fixed surface, the layer of molecules in the immediate contact of surface is stationary, and the velocity of the upper layer increases as the distance of the layers from the fixed layer increases. This type of flow, in which there is a regular gradation of velocity in passing from one layer to another, is called laminar flow. If the velocity of the layer at a distance dz is changed by a value du, then the velocity gradient is given by du by dz. A force is required to maintain the flow of layers, and this force is proportional to the area of contact of layers and the velocity gradient. That is, we can write it as what? F is directly proportional to A. Since just now we have written area is equal to what? Du by dz. We can just substitute the value and we get what? F is directly proportional to du by dz. Therefore, we can write the equation as what? F directly proportional to A into what? Du by dz. And removing the proportionality constant, we can write what? F is equal to eta A du by dz, where the proportionality constant is called the coefficient of viscosity. The unit of viscosity eta are then Newton second per meter square or Pascal seconds. The CGS unit is Dyne second per centimeter square, which is otherwise said to be Poise. The viscosity of water at 20 degrees Celsius is 0.01 Poise, and the viscosity of blood at body temperature is about 0.03 Poise. The Pascal second is called the Poiseuille and is equal to 10 Poise. With this, we are concluding our chapter. Thank you.